What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name's Grady, and I listen to country music and whatever else I want to. And today's a big day because it is the return of Miranda Lambert. Miranda Lambert is back with two new songs and the lead single from her upcoming project, and it's called It All Comes Out in the Wash. And she released that and another single called Locomotive. And I just want to talk about these new songs because I'm pretty freaking excited for them, because Miranda has sort of suggested in interviews leading up to their release that this is a return to old Miranda. You know, after her divorce with Blake Shelton, I think a lot of people were expecting the big breakup record because, I mean, they really capitalized on their relationship, and I think people expected her to maybe capitalize on the breakup. But instead, we got a really subdued record called The Weight of These Wings, which was lovely and gorgeous and long and messy and sensitive. And Vice was the lead single from it, in which she seemed to be taking some accountability for her own maybe indiscretions. That's how I might interpret that song. Just in general, it was a really probably too low key of an album for most people and lacked kind of the mainstream sassy swagger that Miranda had become popular for with songs like Gunpowder and Lead and Kerosene and White Liar. And so I think like the idea that Miranda has said she's going a little punkier, a little rockier, and and she's coming from a lighthearted place on this album that's coming up is exciting.
Wow, that's a lot.
Babe. Hello?
Come on, really?
Also exciting to me is that this next album is going to be produced by Jay Joyce. This is a split from Miranda's longtime producer, Frank Liddell, who she's always worked with. And I'm excited about that. I think it's good for people to kind of change up their sound, and I love Jay Joyce's production on the whole. He's the guy right now working with Eric Church, the Brothers Osborne, Ashley McBryde, 3 of my top 10 albums of last year. He's really good at a kind of scuzzy, rockish sound, and so I think that could work super well for Miranda. And I'm excited to hear what she's come out with. But first, I do want to say a shout out to today's sponsor. It's Ridge Wallet. Ridge Wallet makes these awesome aluminum metal minimalist wallets. If this came out in the wash, you can bet it would be pretty freaking loud. But they sit in the front pocket. I like how small they are. They hold all your cards and they can hold your money. You can get 10% off your first order using the promo code Grady. Or you can go to ridgewallet.com/Grady. And they've been sponsoring the channel for a while, so thanks, you guys. So the first song I'm listening to today is called It All Comes Out in the Wash. And this was written with Miranda and the Love Junkies. That's Hillary Lindsay, who's written like a million songs with Carrie Underwood, Liz Rose, who helped like launch Taylor Swift's early career, and Lori McKenna, who's one of my favorite artists and has written People Get Old and Humble and Kind. And together they've written a bunch of great songs, including Girl Crush and some other monster hits. And so I'm excited to hear what this is. I mean, that's quite a powerhouse. So let's get into this song and give it a listen. I like that song. I think that song's really interesting. That was my first time listening to it, and I think that what I like most about it, and the first thing that comes to mind, is that she has turned the phrase, it all comes out in the wash, on its head. When people say it's all going to come out in the wash, what that usually means is some piece of news or some hidden truth is going to be revealed later. So it's a kind of thing where, you know, you're like, I don't know what the truth of this argument is of these two people over here, but it'll all come out in the wash. And that's usually how people say it. But she's kind of suggesting that any past mistakes, they can be washed out, much like, you know, a little ketchup stain in your clothes can be washed out with some Tide stick. And I think what she's doing here is really interesting because in some ways, just by the fact that she's using this exact phrase, she is referencing this idea that, like, maybe there is truth about her. Maybe that is referring to things in the divorce with Blake Shelton, or things in her very short-term relationship with Evan Felker. There's always a lot of gossip around Miranda, and there's a lot of people that hate her. And maybe it's throwing a bone of like, look, there's things I've done, and maybe even things like I'm not totally proud of. At the same time, this is twisting that phrase and saying, like, even if all these things are true, maybe, like, you know, it all comes out. You can take the sin and the men and put it on spin because it'll all come out in the wash. And so she's not, like, holding herself in this place of contempt, almost the way she was on Vice, her last lead single, where she was saying, another bed I shouldn't crawl out of, at you know, holding her shoes in her hand, and she was ashamed of herself. And in this, it's a much more positive self-reflection. All these things I've done, you know, it'll all come out in the wash. kind of like I'm made clean. It's sort of redemptive in a way, but it's a very, very, very. I mean, look, I take everything seriously, but it's a very fun take on that. I think musically, I'm really happy to hear that this is sort of back to upbeat, jangly Miranda. I think the little guitar riff in this, I mean, it's pretty simple musically. There's not a ton happening. That little guitar riff is pleasant to listen to. I think the production on this is really tasteful. I don't think it's over pop-fied, but it's pretty poppy for Miranda's catalog. And I think that the chanting feels juvenile in a way that I think they want it to. There's a lot of kind of call response chanting in this, and I think they want it to feel sort of silly and lighthearted. I mean, this is a song about laundry, and not even about dirty laundry where it's coded language for an affair, like on Carrie Underwood's song Dirty Laundry. So I think overall this is a pretty successful single. Musically, I don't think it's going to, I don't think it's going to be one of her big standout tracks. I think this is sort of functioning almost similar to how Me by Taylor Swift just did, where it was more about kind of the rebrand. Like, things got dark there for a moment. Let's establish myself as a fun person again. I think Miranda's kind of doing that, but in a very smart way. I really am taken with that phrase, "it all comes out in the wash," because I feel like it's referencing Miranda's celebrity just as much as, or not just as much, but it's for the people that care about the gossip. I feel like it's referencing it even as it's saying she can move past it. So if I were ranking the song out of 10, I would give it like a 7. Or a 7, yeah, because I think the star power here matters. I think, like, on its own, I'd give it a 6 because it's pleasant and fun, but nothing special. But I think the fact that Miranda is kind of making this move and coming back to, I don't know, to some sass makes it interesting. And then I want to listen to her other song, Locomotive. I've heard a live version of this, and I'm really interested to hear if one lyric is the same as I remember it. So that song's a ton of fun. It reminds me of Little Red Wagon in some ways. It's a really driving, kind of raucous rock song. And the thing I love about it, and that is now confirmed, I couldn't understand if I was hearing it correctly in the live version, but she says, "I'm sweet tea sipping on my front porch sitting while my hubby fries chicken, and I'm picking these strings." That's a tongue twister. And then at the end of the chorus, she says, "Oh, he gives me wings, he gives me wings." And she's referring to her new husband. He's a New York City police officer, and she's living up in New York now, and she seems to be in a really happy place in this relationship. But I love double meanings, as you saw in the last song, and where she's mentioned that her husband is frying chicken, and she says, "Oh, he gives me wings, he gives me wings." Miranda's very engaged by the idea of wings. There's wings in her logo, wings and guns. And I love, though, that we get the mention that he's frying chicken, and then we get the mention that he gives her wings, because she means that metaphorically, like, oh, she feels so known and loves being with him, but also he's literally bringing her fried chicken. So for that reason alone, that's one of my favorite freaking lyrics of the year. I'm glad to have Miranda back. She's a polarizing figure for some people in country music, but I think she's one of the greats of our time. You don't have to agree with everything in an artist's regular life to really respect their art, and I really, really respect Miranda's art, and I think she keeps country music so interesting, and she's been such a good banner carrier for the sound of country music, for interesting, thoughtful lyrics, for cool production choices, and she's put out a lot of good music, and I can't wait to hear the rest of this album. I like Fun Miranda. I like these two songs. I don't think either of them is like a new classic, but I'm excited to keep listening. So let me know your guys' thoughts on these songs, and yeah. That's it for me. I will see you guys very soon with some more videos.